Hi guys, welcome back on Cloud Saviors. So let's start our today's video. So just one thing before we start, this video is going to be a long one because we are going to discuss a lot of questions coming from AZ-900, or you can say Azure Fundamentals. Okay. So this video is like if you are working in an IT or in a non-IT background, or you want to go for AZ-900 and you are stuck like what to do, like from where you can read and just to get the knowledge about AZ-900. So here in this video we will discuss almost 50 questions that is coming from AZ-900. It's not the exact like you may see these questions in your exams and you may not, but after this video you will feel confident enough to pass in your examination. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's start our video, and make sure you hit subscribe button and like and comment. Any questions, any doubt, I mean, you can always comment or message me on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so let's start today's video. Okay, so let's start with our question number one. That is, what is Microsoft Azure? That's a very basic one. Option number A, programming language. Option number B, cloud computing platform. Option number C, database software. Option number D, operating system. I hope you know the answer because if we are working on Azure and we are appearing for AZ-900, at least we know Azure is a cloud computing platform. All right. So I don't need to, explain each and every option because I don't have to. That's the very easiest one. You can go with the option B, cloud computing platform, right? Okay, so question two we have, as you can see on your screen as well. Question two, which cloud model provides shared resources over the internet? Okay. Option number A, private cloud. Option number B, hybrid cloud. Option number C, public cloud. Option number C, local cloud. Okay. I explain one by one what kind of options we have. Private cloud. That is something, a company is having for their own workload. Okay. That is not shared among the public. Okay. Option number B, hybrid cloud. It's a mixture of public and private cloud. Okay. That's why we're calling it hybrid cloud. Option number C, public cloud. Okay, we all know like AWS, Azure, GCP. These are the examples of public cloud. Local cloud, again, it's I mean, kind of a private cloud that a company is having in a single building locally. I mean, the very unprofessional one. So, I mean, you tell me what should be the answer. Which cloud model provides shared resources over the internet? So, we are talking about the shared resources. That's why we would like to go for option number C, that is the public cloud. Okay. Question number C, we have which Azure service is mainly used for virtual machines? Okay. Okay, that's again a very basics one. Option A, Azure functions. We all know what is the meaning of Azure functions. Option number B, Azure VM. Option number C, Azure SQL. Option number D, Azure Blob Storage. Okay. So the answer would be Azure VM. We all know that thing. It's a kind of I mean, Azure VM. It means Azure Virtual Machine. Okay. Question number four, we have which Azure service is serverless? Option number A, we have Azure Functions. Option B, Azure Virtual Machines. Okay. Option number C, Azure Virtual Network. Okay. Option number D, Azure Disk Storage. Okay. I mean, you should know the meaning of serverless, why we are calling it serverless. Okay. So let's start with the option number B, Azure Virtual Machine. It's not serverless because we have a complete infra that you can manage. Okay. Serverless is something that, of course, we have infra. Without infra, no service can run, right? But when you talk about serverless, it means the underlying infra you are not managing. You are not responsible to manage the underlying infra. Azure is providing for you, you are just working on top of it. We are calling it serverless. Azure Virtual Machine, wrong answer. Azure Virtual Network, wrong answer. Azure Disk Storage, wrong answer. Because these three things we can manage. Okay. We can decide that yes, 1000 GB disk I would need, what kind of IP address I would give to my virtual network, and what kind of vCPUs and RAM and something like that I can configure to my virtual machine. But in Azure function, like it's a complete serverless service that a piece of code you can run on top of the Azure function. The right answer would be Azure function. Question number five. What does IaaS stand for? Okay. So again, let's go for option A. It's Internet as a service. You decide what should be the answer. Option B, infrastructure as a service. Option C, integration as a service. Option D, identity as a service. Right. So I mean that's again a very basic one. I don't have to explain the options as well, because that's a very basics one. We would like to go for option number B, infrastructure as a service. Okay, we have a platform as a service, we have software as a service, and now we have code as a service as well. Okay, but you just remember three things: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Question number six, we have which service is an example of software as a service? Okay. Option A, Azure Virtual Machine. Option B, Microsoft 365. Option C, Azure Storage. Option D, Azure Network. Okay. So, I mean, again, we know some of the options are a part of complete infra services like, storage, virtual machine, networking. Again, it's part of infrastructure as a service. The only option we have is option number B, that is MS 365. It's a part of SaaS. Okay. So now you should know the difference between BAAs, SaaS, and IaaS. Okay. Question number seven, which Azure service stores unstructured data? That is an important one. Okay. Option number A, blob storage. Option number B, Azure VM. Option number C, Azure AD. Option number D, Azure Monitor. Okay. So, first one, blob storage. I mean, you know the answer. That's the right answer. Option number B, Azure VM. Again, it doesn't like we do not use a virtual machine to store data directly. We need a disk to just attach the virtual machine and store your data. Directly without disk, we cannot do anything. Azure AD is a complete different thing. Azure Monitor again is a complete different thing. The answer would be Azure Blob storage, option number A. Okay, next question we have. What is Azure Availability Zone used for? Very important one. Okay. Option A, coding applications, backup internet, high availability, and antivirus protection. I mean, three of the options are completely relevant. There is nothing like in these, backup internet, coding application. This is like you can remove it. The moment you see these irrelevant options, just, remove from your mind and go for the last one. Like if you don't know the answer, just remove the irrelevant one. The remaining one would be your answer. Okay. So in this question, our answer would be high availability. Like you should know the geographies, availability set, availability zone, data centers, and like how you are going to replicate your infra to any another AZ. So these things you should know. So Azure availability zone is nothing. It is just a data center, a separate building, right? Connected to others availability zone. And these AZs, like a multiple availability zone, will create your a complete region. Okay. Then these regions are connecting to another regions. Okay, that's again a different topic. Just focus on the answers and how you can remove the irrelevant one and go for the correct one. Next question we have is which Azure service manages identities? Okay, again, option A, Azure SQL. Option B, Azure Active Directory. Option C, Azure Storage. Option D, Azure Kubernetes. Just go for Azure Active Directory. So in Azure AD, you can create users, groups, devices, policies, group policies, RBAC permission. I mean, anything. If as a question suggests, like which Azure service manages identities, just go for Azure Active Directory. Okay. Next question we have is what is the main purpose of Azure Virtual Network? Okay, option A, email hosting. Okay. Option B, create isolated network. Option C, database management. Option D, billing management. Again, the remaining are a complete relevant one. I mean, billing management, DB man. I mean, if you just focus on the question, it's asking for Azure virtual network. When the question is asking about network, then the answer would not be based on the database. Okay. So you can just remove option C, option A, option D, and just go for option B, create isolated network. We call it virtual network. Next question, which pricing model allows pay only for used resources? A, fixed pricing, second, pay as you go, option C, annual pricing, option D, free tier only. Again, option B, pay as you go, because I don't think there is something called annual pricing on Azure. And of course, we have free tier. Of course, we have fixed pricing. I mean, not as a complete subscription, but in some virtual machines, we have fixed pricing, right? So yes, the answer would be pay as you go. It means the more resource you will use, the more amount you have to pay. And the billing cycle would be 30 days. Okay. So if you go for pay as you go subscription, you have to give your card detail, and exact like your electricity bill, Azure is going to charge you as much services you have used on a 30 days, like a monthly basis. Next question, which Azure service provides relational databases? Okay, that's a good one. Option A, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL Database. Option C, Azure Blob Storage. Option D, Azure Queue Storage. You can just remove Queue Storage, you can remove Blob Storage, you can remove Azure. Okay, let's remove C and D option. Let's focus on option A and option B. Okay, I mean, we know the answer when it's asking about relational database. So the answer would be Azure SQL Database. That is the option number B. But what about the Azure Cosmos DB? That is not relational. That is a NoSQL database. So just learn the difference between these two databases. Okay. Okay, so next question, what is Azure Cosmos DB? Okay, again, we just discuss about it. Option A, networking tool. Option B, global NoSQL database. Okay. Option C, virtual machine. Option D, monitoring service. I hope you all know the answer. The answer would be global NoSQL database. Okay, next question we have, which Azure tool helps monitor resources? That's the easiest one. Option A, Azure Monitor. Option B, Azure Boards. Option C, Azure DevOps. Option D, Azure DNS. I mean, some of the questions are very simple. If it's asking for monitoring, then the answer would be Azure Monitor, right? That's the right answer. Yes. Okay, so then let's go with the option number A, Azure Monitor. Okay. We have next question. What is scalability in cloud computing? Again, important one. Option A, reducing users. B, increasing or decreasing resources. Option C, deleting storage. Option D, blocking traffic. Okay, we're talking about scalability. We have virtual machine and it keeps on increasing as, if we have traffic spike in my environment, so these virtual machines keeps on adding like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Okay, so we call it scalability. Okay, option A, reducing users. Of course, no. Option B, increasing or decreasing resources. So, that's the right answer because we are increasing our resources, and when we don't need anything, don't need to have as much resources, we are deleting it. Okay, so we call it scalability in cloud computing. Option C, deleting the storage. Option D, blocking traffic. Again, completely relevant one. Let's go with the option number B, increasing or decreasing resources. Okay. Now we have next question. Which Azure service is used for backup? Okay, again, we have the answer in the question itself. Option A, Azure Backup. Option B, Azure Sentinel. Then Azure Firewall, Azure DNS. So the answer would be very simple, Azure Backup services. Next question, which cloud model combines public and private cloud? I mean, I just mentioned this thing in our, second or third question. You must have remembered this. Option A, hybrid cloud. Option B, public cloud. Option C, community cloud. Option D, dedicated cloud. The answer would be hybrid cloud. Okay, let's not waste our time in this question. Let's go for next one. What is capex? Yes, these kind of questions you might be thinking like capex, and these questions are very kind of a non-technical or irrelevant. But yes, I mean you may face two or three questions based on capex and operational cost, something like that. It may look like a non-technical, but yes, it will definitely come in as a 900. Okay, option A, operational expense. Option B, capital expenditure. Option C, cloud expense. Option D, computing expense. I mean, the answer would be capital expenditure. Okay. Next option, which Azure service protects from DDoS attacks? Azure DDoS protection, Azure backup, Azure monitor, Azure logic apps. Again, the same thing. You have the answer in your question itself. Option number A, Azure DDoS protection. Okay. Okay, so let's go for next question. Next question we have, which Azure service helps create containers? Okay, Azure Kubernetes services, Azure Blob, Azure AD, Azure Files. Okay, so Azure Blob, I can just ruled out, right? Because it's something else. Azure AD, we know we manage identities by using Azure AD. So option B and option C, we have removed it. Now the question is how to choose a perfect one between A or D. Option number D, we have Azure Files. Okay. So Azure Files is kind of a storage. As a name, I mean, if you don't know about Azure Files, just go with the name. Like it must be kind of a folder where we are storing something, okay? Because as a name, it's your files, right? So you can ruled out option number D. Now, what we have? We have AKS, like Azure Kubernetes Services. This is how you can just, think about the question, think about the options, and keep ruling out the irrelevant one, and just the remaining one would be your answer. It's not a kind of a big thing. That's a very basic examination. But still, go for the, I mean, good documentation, good preparation. I mean, another videos as well. Then appear for AZ-900. Okay, next question we have, what is platform as a service? Okay. I mean, okay, by mistake, I just answered the question. So option number A, we have platform as a service. Option number B, program as a service. Option number C, protection as a service. Option number D, portal as a service. Nothing like that. I mean, the answer would be platform as a service. We do not have program as a service. We do not have protection. We do not have portal as a service. The only thing we have is a platform as a service. Okay. Okay. Next question. Which Azure service is used for DNS hosting? Again, we have the answer in our question itself. So, option number one, Azure Firewall. Option number B, Azure DNS. Option number C, Azure Policy. Option number D, Azure Advisor. I hope you know the answer. The answer would be Azure DNS. Next question, which Azure service provides recommendation for optimization? That's a very important one, okay? When you talk about recommendation, we only think about Azure Advisor, okay? The answer would be Azure Advisor, right? Okay, option number A, Azure Advisor. Option number B, Azure Logic Apps. Monitor, then Sentinel. Monitor, Sentinel, completely different thing. Logic Apps, again, it's a completely different thing. It's again a serverless program. So let's go for option number A, Azure Advisor. Okay, let's go for next question. Which Azure service helps enforce governance? Okay, Azure policy, Azure VM, Azure functions, Azure blob storage. Okay, Azure VM we do not use for governance. I mean, let me clear one thing. What is the meaning of governance? It means a kind of something that you are enforcing. Whether your user, your company, your employee, or your customer want to do it or not, but that is your policy. If someone is using your infra, that has to do it. It's a kind of an enforcement, right? So we call it a governance that has to be done. For example, if you are going into an office, then like you got your office laptop, right? So the pen drive you cannot put. If you put your pen drive, then your laptop will not detect it. What is that? That is the governance from the your company. That is the policy in your company that you cannot put the pen drive or anything in your laptop. That's a kind of example. Okay, let's get back to Azure. Now again, we have something like let's say any virtual machine cannot be created outside India region. Okay, if someone try to do it, then again it will not happen because we have some governance on top of it over a subscription, right? Okay, so which Azure service helps enforce governance? The option would be Azure Policy, Azure VM, Azure Function, Azure Blob Storage. I mean, you can do it by yourself. You can just remove the irrelevant one, and what you will be having is Azure Policy, option number A. Okay. Next question, which service provides threat detection in Azure? Okay. Option number A, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Option number B, Azure Backup. Option number C, Azure Cost Management. Option number D, Azure Queue Services. I mean, option number B or C, you know that thing. There's nothing like backup. There's nothing like cost management. Okay. Azure Queue. Queue is something, like it's a part of, I would say, when we talk about storage accounts or like a table, file, blob, then we talk about queue. It's a part of, storage, I would say, in Azure.